$5 Games presents Dead by Daylight. This is an asymmetrical 1 versus 4 PvP game. For those interested in seeing my first few games from each side, check the links in the description. In essence, it's two games that share a reward system. The only thing I read regarding the main plot was some guy talking about the blood web, which is how you unlock items and abilities. Although it seemed that even he did not understand what was going on and was trying to figure it out himself. So it was like reading someone else's diary of them going through the same thing as you. In other words, the plot is intentionally ominous and vague, where you gradually gather pieces in order to form a more complete picture. I believe that most of these pieces of plot are obtained through challenges. Basically, there are a bunch of tomes that have selectable challenges for you to do. Once you complete enough challenges, they unlock these character biographies that are tied to the tomes. Ultimately, I'm unsure though, as I only did 2 challenges and failed to unlock any entries. You also get various currencies and cosmetics for doing the challenges, so there's a reason to do them besides just plot. Gameplay wise, let's start with a team of 4 called the Survivors. When you play as a survivor, the game ends when you either die or escape. In order to escape, you have to either escape through a hole in the ground called the hatch or go through one of 2 gates along the edge of the map. In order to go through a gate, survivors must turn on 5 of the 7 generators on the map and then pull the switch next to the gate. In order to go through the hatch, there has to be 1 survivor left, and they have to find it before the other side does. If the other team finds it first, they then have to use a gate. In order to die as a survivor, you need to be put on a hook 3 times. Less if you're on the hook for too long. You can also die if you're laying down too long, this timer runs out, or a couple of other unique situations. Generally speaking, escaping gives you more points than dying, which makes it preferable. You are called a survivor after all. There are 39 survivors to choose from, but only 3 are unlocked at the start. Wait a second, that doesn't make sense. Okay, after re-watching my footage, I noticed that I was partly scrolled down, so at a guess there's 7 survivors that are unlocked at the start. Each survivor plays identical to the rest, but they each have 3 perk thingies that are intrinsic to them. And after you level them up, you can get those perks on other characters. You level up via the blood web, which is a randomly generated skill tree. When all of the skills have been chosen, the character levels up and a new blood web generates. Now, swapping teams, the single player is called the Killer. They have a similar blood web system as the Survivors with teachable perks, but unlike the Survivors, each of the 34 playable killers have unique abilities. Some are simple, like putting down a bear trap or turning invisible, while others are complicated, like turning into a ping pong ball or spreading an infection among the survivors. All but one of them plays in first person. You're able to kill survivors by hitting them a couple of times, picking them up off the ground, and hooking them with a few exceptions. The game ends for the killer when all 4 survivors have either died or escaped. My experience as a survivor was anxiety-inducing and filled with mistakes. I totally forgot about the challenge I had selected. When I was on a generator, I could hear the killer getting closer, but I didn't know whether or not they were after me. I didn't know where to look and even missed skill checks because of it. In one of my tutorial games, I constantly only searched a part of the map finding nothing, and I didn't know how to escape without running into the killer. In later matches, it was hard to communicate to others that I wanted to heal, but ultimately I didn't know whether or not healing was the best course of action. Essentially, I didn't know how to survive and never escaped. As a killer, things felt a lot more streamlined. In my first game, I realized that the person I was chasing was way more skilled than me, so I left them and only got one kill. My second game, I gave a second chance to someone, but it didn't work out for them. Once this guy realized that the game was lost, he decided that pointing at this board and goofing off was his best bet. And in my third game, things went horribly for the survivors right off the bat. Again, those games are in the description. There are several killers and survivors who come from other franchises. However, because of that, each of them costs additional money. It seems to be about $5 each. There's also a battle pass system with both a free tier and a $10 paid tier. The paid tier essentially refunds you if you play enough. Interestingly, something unexpected happened when I uninstalled the game. My browser automatically opened up to a survey by the developers asking why I was uninstalling it. Now, I don't play a lot of PvP games, so maybe this is normal, but this is the first time I've seen a game do this, which I thought was kind of cool. But anyways, Dead by Daylight being a PvP game means that sometimes you will be playing with or against people who are not playing by the rules because they are cheating. But much more frequently, you will be tasked with dynamically difficult situations, such as, should you sacrifice yourself to let the other 3 survivors escape? Should you push for the impossible when it looks like all hope is lost? Or should you spare this guy since he's goofing off? The choice of what you should do is yours. That's a wrap for this game. Consider picking this game up instead of a 4-for-1 special.